So if you got your Bible, open to 1 Timothy chapter 6 rather, and I want you also to pull out your wallet. So if you got your wallet, dig your wallet out. You need two things in your wallet. If you got your wallet, you need your Bible and your wallet. So you need your Bible and your wallet. You get them out. Okay? Now if you got them out, Rick's getting his out. I want you to hold them up. Okay? Hold them up. Get them up. Go Mark. Higher Mark. Mark. There it is. Okay, good. Okay, Dave's playing. Good. Okay, up. Got them up. Galen, I see you, buddy. You're not holding them up. Okay. Hold them up. Thank you. I will watch you. Okay. We're holding them up. Now, this entire treasure series has been about how to bring these two things together. Both have a message. Both have a voice. Both have a worldview. Both require your allegiance. Both make promises, but only one can fulfill those. You can put them down. My heart has been for us as a church that by God's grace, this would increasingly become the picture of how we understand our money. That money or a wallet lives under the authority and the instruction and lives submitted to the Word of God, the teaching of Jesus Christ. But in reality, this is the picture of some of our lives, right? Sunday afternoon. Wednesday evening, Thursday morning. Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning. We do this back and forth. My prayer has been that as we've gone through this series, Jesus would increasingly be convincing you that to listen to the voice of this is death. To live in submission to the voice of Jesus in His Word and put everything under that is life. Amen? How many of you, when you came in and were singing this morning, were tempted to take your wallet and put it in your hand, just raise it as we sang? I noticed nobody did. That'd be too obvious, right? That'd be too conspicuous. But in reality, many of us are walking through life like this. Just loving this, worshiping this, hoping in this, trusting in this, pursuing this, serving this, submitting to this, enslaved to this. And we find it hard to come in on Sundays and, anybody see that? Oh. Walk back out the door. We do this. Jesus is saying, are you done on the teeter-totter of worship? Are you ready to get serious about following me? No matter whether you're with the gathering of the saints on Sunday or surfing the internet on eBay Thursday night, will you serve me with your money? The question I want you to ask as we walk through this morning's text is, what will be my legacy? What legacy will I leave? Because it's not a question of if you'll leave a legacy, it's a question of what kind of legacy you'll leave. So everyone here, if they can understand my voice and process what I'm saying, means they're of the age of accountability and the age of responsibility, and they're already building their legacy. The question is, what kind of legacy will you leave? And Jesus connects how you feel about, think about, interact with, and spend your money will shape greatly the legacy that you leave. So 1 Timothy chapter 6. 6 are the big numbers. We're going to start at verse 6. Those are the small numbers. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6. Paul writes this to the young pastor. Now there is great gain in godliness with, what's the word? Contentment. For we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. One of the things I love about the Bible is as you immerse yourself in it, study it, read it, memorize it, cultivate it, chew on it, and make it a part of your life by saturating your mind in it, the more you will look out in the world and see the truths of the Bible self-authenticated everywhere you look. Meaning, all you need to do today is go to your favorite news outlet and spend 3 minutes perusing the stories we're talking about, and you will find what we just read self-authenticated in 25 stories on the front page. God's word is timeless and therefore timely for us as a people. Verse 10, for the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. So Paul's now weighting the conversation of the love of money. He's saying, let me tell you how important this issue of loving money is. It's so important that some who have been sucked into it have walked away from the faith. They've abandoned the faith. They've walked away from King Jesus, and they've been dragged off the cliff with King Money into the pit of despair and destruction. That's how serious the conversation is. The eternal destination and the reality of your salvation is in the balance of how you interact with this thing called money. Jesus said it himself, you cannot serve both God and money. Then jump down to verse 17. Paul writes, as for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but rather to set their hope on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. Verse 18, the rich are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure, there's the word again, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life. Three things we'll see in our text this morning. One, the problem that Paul gives us in relationship to money. What our problem is with money. The solution to being rescued from the problem and trap of money, and the result of being rescued from that, what it would look like in our life if we were. So first, the problem. The problem, he states very clearly, is that there is a cancer inside every human being born on the planet. And the cancer is covetousness. The cancer is covetousness. You don't catch it. You don't develop it. You were born with it. The innate and inordinate desire to pursue and love and gain and possess and have that which you do not currently have. Covetousness. Everyone is born with it. Now, note very carefully here that Paul is not going after the poor or the rich because they're poor, they're rich. He's not saying because you're poor, that means this about you spiritually, or because you're rich, that means this about you spiritually. He's saying, hey, to the poor, your danger is you'll desire it. And he's saying to the rich, hey, your danger is you'll crave keeping it and not be generous with it. So whether you have lot or little or none, there is danger for you in relationship to money because money has a force field that sucks you in like a trap. And when it clamps onto your leg like a bear track, drags you into the bushes, chews you up and spits you out, you're done. So I want to hear very clearly, this is not intended to make the rich feel guilty and the poor feel snobbish. This is meant to engage everyone, no matter what socioeconomic status you find yourself in today, and ask yourself, where is my heart in relationship to coveting that which I do not have? We see in the Bible, Job was rich, Abraham was rich, David was rich, Solomon was rich, all as a result of God's blessing. And they handled it with varying degrees of faithfulness. So the issue is not how much money you have or don't have. The issue is how does your heart think and feel and interact with it. So let's move towards a definition of coveting, since Paul's saying that it's a cancer. If I were to ask you if you regularly covet, would you think you do? I asked my wife this last night. I said, honey, do you think you covet? She was doing dishes. I was sitting at the table, and she said, I don't think so. I don't feel like I desire other people's stuff that much. I said, oh, good. Be sure to catch tomorrow's sermon, babe. Reeled her right in. So she's like, oh, am I going to be a sermon analogy? I was like, yes, you are. So you did perfect. That was a perfect answer. I got you. Come tomorrow, and we'll unpack coveting and see if you don't struggle with it maybe more than you think. So let's unpack coveting together a little bit and work at some definitions of kind of painting it out and defining it for us. Coveting is desiring something other than what the Father has chosen to give us. Another way to say it would be coveting is when you're not satisfied with all that God has already given you and blessed you with. How many of you have been at the Christmas party or the birthday party when all of a sudden it got really uncomfortable when that kid started opening up his presents? You know what kid I'm talking about. Not your kid. The other person's kid. And they're opening the presents and they're like, got a present. Open it up. I got one of these. And you're thinking, oh, wait till they get to my present. My present's going to blow their socks off. And they get to your present, and they open it up, and they're like, I don't like that color. They throw it, and you're like, you little snot. You little rat, come over here. I'll teach you a little appreciation, a little respect. It just irks you, doesn't it? Why does it irk you? It irks you because you recognize that little 4-year-old didn't have the resources or the means to go buy that gift of themselves. You gave that to them as a gift, as a gift of grace. And they tossed it over their shoulder like they deserved it. They wanted something better. That should irk you, right? There are many 45, 50, 60-year-olds walking around with the same sin of coveting that made the 4 or 5-year-old look like a brat to you at the party. Their coveting has just got a little more sophisticated. They're a little better at covering it up. The same sin is still there. Coveting is desiring something other than what the Father has already chosen to bless you with. Coveting turns you into a spoiled brat. Coveting is an internal sin that leads to external sin. So it's helpful to define coveting as an internal sin because there are internal and external sins. Meaning, if I go out and murder some way, is that an internal sin or an external sin? Well, it's pretty external. I could get put in jail for it. If I go out and steal something from someone, take what's theirs and make it mine, put it in my pocket and walk home with it, is that external or internal? That's external. If I go out and have adultery, have sex with a woman who's not my wife, that's a very external sin. However, if I covet, nobody sees that. Nobody sees that. Can't get thrown in jail for it. It's not illegal. In fact, we have a country now, it's moved from a production-based economy to a consumer and experience-based economy, where our entire economical system hinges on you coveting and spending more money. So coveting is by far illegal. It's quite promoted in our country, and it's internal, and it leads to external sins, but it starts internally. Coveting is desiring something so much that it overrides your desire for God. It's interesting to note in the 10 Commandments, the first command is, thou shalt have no other gods before me, and the last commandment is, thou shalt not covet. I think they're virtually synonymous, meaning God is bracketing the 10 Commandments that he gives to his people because he loves them and wants the best for them as a loving Heavenly Father, and he brackets those things with, don't love anything or anyone more than me or it'll go bad for you. That's why Paul says in Colossians 3 that greed is idolatry. Coveting, wanting, desiring, craving things that are currently not yours is a function of idolatry because it says, I'll be happy, I'll be safe, I'll be content, I'll be fulfilled, I'll be secure if I can have that thing out there which I currently do not yet have. Meaning you're saying what God has already given me in Christ isn't enough to fulfill the desires of my heart. Look at the desire language in the text. Verse 9, but those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful other desires. So the coveting desire, the trigger desire of covetousness will lead you down a path that will start firing other sins, he says. Other desires will awaken. Lust and other things will happen when you allow coveting to sit in your heart. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving, see, desire, love, craving. Coveting is at its root desiring something and wanting it more badly than you want God himself. So you say, where does coveting start? If it is so insidious as a fruit, where does it start as a seed? And I would argue that coveting starts as a seed in your heart when you cease to be grateful for what you already have. In other words, coveting is fundamentally being ungrateful for what you already have. I think we vastly underrate the value of a grateful heart. A grateful heart is at rest. A grateful heart is aware that they deserve nothing and that all they possess has been given to them because of grace. So they daily count their blessings and the things God's given them They go, wow. The ungrateful heart counts everything they have as well, except their inventory sheet looks differently. Rather than look at everything that I have, their inventory report says, look at everything I don't have. Are you kidding me? I deserve more than this. I need more than this. I desire more than this. What's the deal, God? It's the 4-year-old kid at Christmas going, 7 presents? Really? Is that the best you can do? What, tough economic times or something? 7? Really? 1 Wii? Only 1 control? What do you think, I'm an orphan? That's the attitude that comes off of us when we fail to be ungrateful, or fail to be grateful. Look at verse 7. Paul says, now there is great gain in godliness and contentment, for we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. Paul's trying to help us get our mind around the fact that, hey, when you came into the world, you had how much? Nothing. When you leave the world, you'll get to take how much? Nothing. Everything in between is grace. Everything in between is grace. And here's the irony. You find the biggest, baddest dude or the biggest, baddest gal who's making the most money, killing it, tons of wealth, thinking they really self-made man, self-made woman. The irony of it is, for many, many years of that person's life, they were pathetically helpless, right? Haven't you seen a baby and you're like, you might become Alexander the Great, but right now, I got to change your diapers, yo. You know what I mean? I'm feeding you slop, green slop I met up in the blender because, you can't even feed yourself. You can't even take yourself to the bathroom. That's a picture of how we are for the entirety of our life. Now, we grow up and we begin to think differently. We really got our act together. But reality is, we need to remember the picture of the baby and the picture of the person on their deathbed. That's really who we are. In between is a breath, a vapor, grass that grows up and then wilts. It's there and gone. And somehow we've bought into the fact that my life is defined by my strongest point at 34. When in reality, my life is more defined biblically by the weakness of when I came into the world and the weakness when I go out. Nakedness in the Bible is more than nudity. Nakedness is a sign of defenselessness. It's a sign of helplessness. It's a sign of vulnerability. So Paul's saying, vulnerable you came into the world, vulnerable you'll leave. Defenseless you came into the world, defenseless you're going to leave. Needy and helpless you came into the world, needy and helpless you're going to go. And if you leave the world thinking you got it together, then you're just not walking in biblical reality because you came in with nothing and you'll leave with nothing. Meaning you're needy. And anything you have over and above what you had when you came in and what you have when you leave is nothing short of grace. That's why ungratefulness in the hearts of your children, parents, is a really, really big deal. Our children are not allowed to express ungratefulness at any level because we're so aware of where that attitude, if it were allowed to take root, will go. Ungratefulness is the seed that grows the tree of full-blown covetousness, and it does not need long to grow. Coveting blinds us to who we are, or it distorts our picture of reality. Notice in verse 17 he says, as for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be, literally the word is proud. Now he didn't say suggest to the few rich people you encounter that appear a bit snobby. He said any person you encounter who is socially, economically in a bracket that will be defined as rich in their generation, in this present age, you tell them, you exhort them, you command them, you warn them not to be proud. Now, why would he say that? Here's why I would say that. The gospel is that we're justified by Jesus and his work. But the default mode of the human heart is that we want to justify ourselves by our own work. Now, you take that human propensity to want to justify ourselves by our own work, and you combine that with financial success, and that is a dangerous combination. what happens when that takes place, the human propensity to justify ourselves by our works, and the success of financially, whether it be a business you start that takes off, or a job promotion you get, or a pay raise you get, or whatever it may be, where you're making more than you made before, you combine those two, and what will happen is you will become proud and arrogant because you will think, I've killed it in one slice of life, therefore I must be omnipotent and wise in every area of life. You see that? Because your intuitions got you success over here in one small area of life, you generalize that and you translate that into every area of life, and you think your intuitions in every area of life are spot on the money. I've seen this over and over and over again. I have rarely do I meet a person of financial means. I mean, they're wise with money and they've made a ton of it and they invest and everything they touch turns to gold. I have rarely met someone like that who is also wise in relationships. It's just very rare. Because money makes you arrogant because of success in a small area, generalized over all of life, and what happens is you stop learning. You become unteachable because you got to dial in. Obviously, look how much money you have. That's a lie. So the danger of money is that it blinds you to who you really are. You think, I'm superior over here, I'm superior, period. Nothing could be further from the truth. Money or covetousness, the love of money, the desire of money, distorts our definition of needs and wants. Here's where money's so dangerous. Because money blinds you to what you already have. Covetousness blinds you to what you already have. I think the word need is maybe one of the most overused words in our culture. With closets stuffed full of more clothes than we can wear, we still need more. With 2 or 3 fridges full of food, we still don't have enough. With houses bigger than we have furnitures to fill them, we still need more. There is something about money and the coveting of it that blinds us to what we already have. It's called the tolerance effect, right? Anybody who starts taking drugs, the first hit is always the best. Every hit after will simply be an attempt to gain the buzz they got on the first hit. And guess what? Do they ever get it? They don't. It's called the law of diminishing returns. First hit's always the best. Everyone after that is just a chasing of what you first experienced, of what you never have. And although you keep taking more and more and more and more and more. It's a tolerance effect. That's what happens to us with money. We're living a certain bracket of life, and all of a sudden, there's all these things up here that we would view as luxuries, but we're living on our need base down here. Then our economic bracket bumps up, and what do? We go experience a few luxuries. A little nicer car, a little more, whatever it may be, and we're like, man, this is great. What a luxury. And what happens is over time, I don't mean 15 years, I mean like 2 weeks. Those things that were once luxuries to be had, if you could, become necessities you can't live without. Things you could and did go for months, weeks, years without ever experiencing, you now see as necessity to make it to the end of your week. What happens is that just keeps happening. So if we put our income here and our needs here, and our income goes up, our definitions, what we need goes up, will those rise at an equal level over the course of our life? They won't. Here's what will happen. This is how much money I make. This is what I think we need. Oh, hey, making more. Hey, this is fun. Oh, hey, I'm strapped. I don't have any money. I'm broke. Making 4 times the money you made 10 years ago, you're broke. Because raising the ceiling of income caused you to raise your standard of living to the point where you think you need what you used to view only as luxury. The problem is inside every socioeconomic bracket, there are variations, right? So you move up to the next socioeconomic bracket, and all of a sudden, you're at the top of the first bracket. Now you're at the bottom of the new bracket. And look at everything these people have that I now need. And it causes you to get on the treadmill, jump in the rat race, and run until your little heart explodes. Coveting is living with a deep sense of discontentment. I'm going to argue that discontentment is not wrong. Discontentment in the wrong thing and in the wrong place is what is deadly. Follow the logic here. Because I'm ungrateful for what I've been given and didn't deserve, because I have a distorted and misdiagnosed sense of need, I am now constantly discontent. I am always on the quest for more, and on the quest for more, I will spend more than I should to satisfy my discontent. But because my discontent is rooted in ingratitude and a distorted sense of need, spending more and accumulating more will not help solve my problem. You see how that works? I need more because I'm ungrateful. I need more because I have a distorted and misdiagnosed definition of need. Therefore, when I go buy more and get more, it won't solve anything because what I'm buying out there, I'm drawing into a poisoned well. Now, what I thought I needed, I now have. It's not satisfying anymore. I'm not grateful. I'm not appreciative. I'm discontent. So I'm clamoring after more, which runs me into debt, consumer debt, because I perceive I need more than what I currently make. You see the death cycle we get in as a country, as a people, as a family, as an individual? The love of money is fundamentally not an overspending problem. It's a coveting problem. We got to get that. You will not fix a coveting problem with Dave Ramsey budgets. You won't. You won't fix a coveting problem with pulling up your bootstraps and trying to stay alive like the gazelle. You won't. You might become a more disciplined coveter, but a coveter nonetheless. The only thing that will root out the sin of covetousness that is internal and inside of your heart is an internal work of surgical precision with grace. You can't solve an internal problem with an external solution like a budget. I'm not running down budgets. You need to have a budget. You need to be disciplined. You need to get on the ball. You need to get on the horn. You need to make a plan. You need to be systematic. You need to be frugal. You need to ask for help and counsel. But that will not fundamentally solve your coveting problem. Discontentment is the soil in which the love for money grows. And the love of money is not a small thing because at its root, coveting is an expression of pride. Coveting says, I don't have what I think I want or need, and I deserve it, therefore I'm going to go get it. Coveting is the sin that caused Satan to fall from heaven. Coveting is the sin that caused Adam and Eve to fall from grace and be kicked out of the garden. And coveting is the sin you were born inside born inside your heart with, causing you to propitiate down the road to destruction. I walked into the room the other day, and Amelia, my 3-year-old, who is full of vivaciousness and vigor, had a hold of a cell phone that her big brother had, and they were doing this game. And she had grabbed on it, and she picked her feet up and put them on his leg, and she was arch her back, trying to get the cell phone out of his hands. And Levi, who was bigger, started going, Amelia, this is mine. I want to play with it. You ever walked into that scenario with your kids? Don't even judge me like that. Yes, you have. I walked in and I said, we got a problem here. Do you know what the problem is in that moment? Coveting. My 3-year-old is in the grips, is in the death snare of coveting. And if I go in and attempt to change her behavior to lower the volume in our home so I'm not as annoyed anymore, I will not deal with the poisonous cancer in her heart. I'll give her vitamin C for what only chemotherapy can accomplish. So I walk in, and here's the irony. How many toys are laying around Amelia while she's clinging to that cell phone? About 100. But what does she want? She wants what Levi has. Now, if I were to go in and I were to say, Let me declare. Hey, look, here's a pink cell phone. Look, pink, it's bigger. Look, it makes noise. Here, you want this one? Try this one. Levi. Here, look at this. What am I doing in that moment? I'm saying, hey, babe, take this. You weren't coveting big enough there. You weren't dreaming big enough with your covetry. You need to covet this. Here, let me nurture and feed and fuel your covetous heart. Might solve the problem in the interim. I think I've just fed cancer. What if I walked in, as Driscoll said in his book, what if I walked in and I said, hey, Levi, were you playing with it first? Okay, well, keep playing with it. And when you're done, it's Amelia's turn. Amelia, you need to be patient. What have I just done? I said, coveting is cool. Just add patience to it, okay? So patiently covet, and then we're all good in my house. I haven't fixed anything. But if I'm not identifying that root issue, I will attempt to solve it in a wrong way. And I will leave cancer in the chest of my child. And I will walk out and think I'm the best parent in the world. Biblical parenting always pushes past the behavior with an attempt to get to the heart or the root of what's driving the behavior so that we can apply the gospel there, call for repentance there, call for submission there, call for change of attitude there. Not so that they stop fighting, but that she stops wanting what she doesn't have and can rejoice with what others have, even if she doesn't have it. That's where I have to go with my 3-year-old, and that's where you have to go with your heart, or else we will never be rid of the cancer. What's the solution then? I'd give it to you, but I feel like you're freezing right now. Do we need to stand up and take a little stretch break here, Chuck? How are we doing? I'm feeling really bad right now. I'm hearing some, you're just waiting for me to get done? Okay. Well, I'm hearing some tea chatter. Are you doing okay? Just kind of do this real quick. Woo! Wave your arms around, stretch if you need to. You can get up. I don't want any kids to die of hypothermia while I'm preaching, so. Are we good? I'm feeling bad. Kyle, I don't even see eyes moving over there. How you doing? He's got that short haircut. He's freezing over there. Okay. What's the solution then? The solution to covetousness is contentment. Look at verse 6. Now, there is great gain in godliness with contentment. For we brought nothing into the world, we can take nothing out of the world, but if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content. The solution for those who are rich, the solution for those who are poor, the solution for those who are middle class and want more is to learn the secret of godliness with contentment. And in that moment, you will be the richest person on the planet. Let's unpack contentment briefly here. Paul gives us contentment as the antidote to covetousness. Contentment is a deep sense of gratefulness for what you already have. You think, well, how do I cultivate this? You cultivate it by realizing you came in with nothing, you'll leave with nothing, you deserve nothing, everything you have is grace. It's much easier to be content with what you have when you remember what you really deserve. I remember Adam and I were in our offices, both having equally hard days, I think. And we came out of the office, and I looked like I had about 1,000 pounds on my back. He had about 1,000 pounds on his back, and the weight of ministry and planting and shepherding and pastoring and leading and discipling and equipping was just like about to crush us and mail in our resignation. I looked over at him. He looked back at me, and he goes, you know what? I'm grateful I don't have to go to hell today. We can deal with this. And in that moment, he just kind of pastored me. And he was saying, Josh, whatever you got going, don't let it cause you to be discontent, because it could be a lot worse. Like, you could go to hell. You have Jesus. He saved you. He's preparing a place for you. He loves you. He's for you. He's with you. He's empowering you. He's praying for you. He's interceding for you. This could be worse. You fight discontentment with realizing that what you deserve is nothing and everything above that is grace. Contentment is the ability to have peace no matter what is going on around you. In fact, the Greeks, this word was one of the words for the highest virtue they had in Greek culture, because they defined contentment as the ability to be happy, the ability to be content, the ability to be satisfied apart from circumstances. Meaning, no matter how much money I make or don't make, no matter where I live or don't live, no matter what I drive or don't drive, new camel, old camel, big camel, small camel, no matter what I have, no matter what's going on, whether in plenty or in want, I'm content, and therefore I am rich. Because even the Greeks realize that if your sense of richness and satisfaction and happiness is not connected to your circumstance, you can be rich, happy, satisfied, fulfilled at any moment of any day, no matter what the economy is doing, no matter what the administration is doing, no matter what local business is doing, no matter what happened on the way home at the intersection with a car, no matter what's happening, you can still have contentment, satisfaction, joy that's not ruffled by circumstances. The Greeks realized, if you can have that, you're rich. Because the person who has little and is content has infinitely more than the person who has hundreds of thousands in the bank but still wants more. You see that? Jesus is loving us when he says, learn to be content. Contentment is not found by pursuing poverty or avoiding prosperity. I want to make sure this is clear. I've been saying this throughout the series, but I don't want you to hear this and think, okay, I don't have much, so to pursue contentment, I'll just not try to attain anything. I'll just not work extra hours. I just won't try to climb up the ladder. I just won't try to start any businesses or make more money. I'll just kind of be content with what I have. I'll pursue poverty. That's not what Paul's saying. Neither is he saying, okay, if I have riches and it's stuff, to attain contentment, I need to give it all away until I give myself back into poverty. That's not what he's saying either. Paul's not saying you pursue contentedness not by pursuing poverty, self-inflicted poverty. Either way, you pursue contentedness by looking rather to Jesus. If you have your Bibles, and you don't need to turn there, I'll read it for you, but if you want to, Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. Because we need Christians in every socioeconomic bracket, right? If all the Christians here just go, okay, well, I need to give all my money away so I'm not going to be rich anymore, and you give yourself into poverty, we just lost a good witness in that economic bracket. We need you there. Jesus said, go into all the world and make disciples. We need rich Christians. We need poor Christians. We need middle-class Christians. We need influential politician Christians. We need Joe Blow, blue-collar Christian, and everybody in between, because our mandate is to go into every socioeconomic bracket with the good news of the gospel. And there, in that lifestyle, display Jesus is better. So, therefore, probably, no matter what bracket you're in, you should be toward the bottom. Because you're not caught in the trappings of everyone else in that bracket. You're giving generously over and above what requires you to live there in that bracket, so you're at the bottom of it. If you're clamoring to get to the top of it, there might be an issue of coveting in your heart. Meaning that the further up the scale you go, more income you make, more promotions you get, more success your business experiences, more whatever it may be, the further up the scale you go, the bigger the gap should increase between how you could live and how you do live. See that? Not that you stop making money, not that you stop creating wealth. The gap just increases between how you could live with that money and how you actually do, because you're giving generously with what God's blessed you with. How do we do that? Paul gives us a clue in Philippians 4. Now, if you know me, this is one of my pet peeves, my gospel community knows this around me. I deplore Christian coffee mugs and paintings that take glorious scripture verses, rip them out of context, and make them mean something completely different than their intended meaning. That just drives me, that almost drives me crazy, worse than people who drive slow in the left-hand lane. It's close, but they both get a visceral response out of my heart. You know what I mean? Like, case in point number one, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I mean, how many times have you heard that one used, right? Out on the ball field. Come on, guys, we're going to get the first down. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us at the Christian school. Or at the swim meet, or at the track field, or on the baseball field, or as you're walking in to ask for a raise with your boss, or whatever scenario you fill it in with, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Is that using that text in all of the glorious way it was intended? I would argue no. That's ripping that text out of context, applying it onto your life circumstances, like Jesus the life coach, Jesus the fortune cookie giver, Jesus the tips and techniques guy, where you're calling in divine power to help you struggle through and fulfill and win at the agenda you're pursuing. There's nothing to do with what Paul's talking about when he says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. want to know why he said it? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you anyways. Verse 10, I rejoiced in the Lord greatly that now at length you have revived your concern for me. You were indeed concerned for me, but you had no opportunity. Not that I am speaking of being in need. Paul the missionary here is writing to the Philippians who were supporting him in his apostolic ministry. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be, what's the word? Content. I know how to be brought low. I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need. What's Paul saying? Paul is saying here, I have had it all. I've had lots of money. I've had no money. I've had prestige, honor, reputation. I've had nothing. I've been viewed and esteemed highly. I've been lied against and betrayed and vilified. I've been honored by men. I've been stoned by men. I've had power. I've had no power. I've had influence among men. I've been despised by men. I've had lots. I've had little. And I've learned the secret of being content both in need and want and abounding in whatever I want. Now, this is the guy here who has been whipped and beaten and shipwrecked and snake bitten and stoned and is now writing this letter from where? Not his office on his laptop. He's like, I have learned in all things the secret of being content. He's in prison. Rats gnawing at his toes, sitting in human feces, no fresh air, no window with light, chained in awkward positions. And he's saying, I have learned the secret of being content. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's the context for Paul invoking the strength of Jesus to carry him through. Not to get the raise, not to score the touchdown, not to swim a better lap, but to pursue and persevere in times of horrific trial and persecution. I can fight off covetousness. I can fight off discontent. I can fight off the evil of desiring more than I have by the grace of God as he reveals to me the value and the treasure of Jesus that's already secured for me because of grace. You see the difference? One uses the verse saying, God, come help me do what I want to do. The other is saying, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me because it's his power calling me to walk his road to accomplish his purposes that align with his agenda to bring about his will for the ultimate glory of his name. Jesus empowering me to fulfill what he's called me to do, not Jesus helping me out to accomplish what I want to get done for me. Those are huge differences in how we view the Bible and proclaim the promises of God over our life and ask for the divine help when it comes to pursuing a goal. Now, contentment is not lack of ambition or desire. I want you to hear that. Contentment is not lack of ambition or desire. Some of you might hear this exhortation and think, okay, well, contentment is my easy excuse out, man. Well, it's what I got. I guess I got to go with it. And you'll play video games, or you'll be lazy. You'll make your wife work because we need to be content, babe. No, that's laziness. That's sin. Contentment is not indifference. It's not laziness. Godly contentment is not the enemy of holy ambition. Rather, it is the antidote to your covetousness that would sink any holy ambition you might ever have. Contentment is not the enemy of holy ambition. You need to have holy ambitions. You need to have holy desires. You need to have a holy burning in your gut to do something, to accomplish something, to desire something, to pursue something, to go after something you yet do not have. You need that as a church if you'll follow Jesus faithfully. So the problem I'm pushing for here is not to make you content and to despise discontentment. I'm pushing you to be content in the right things and discontent with the right things. The irony of sin is that it makes us content with the wrong things and discontent with the wrong things. I'm very content with the lost people in my city going to hell. I'm profoundly discontent with the number of shoes in my closet I have to wear today. I'm very content with unreached people groups going to hell because there's no gospel witness there, but I'm very discontent of the used car I'm driving. You see the difference? Jesus isn't saying, hey, stop desiring, stop having ambition, stop being discontent. He's saying, desire, have ambition, be discontent for the right things. Be content with the right things, be discontent with the right things. If we become discontent with material possessions, we will never pursue and have a spiritual legacy. A spiritual legacy will only come about when we have a holy, wrought, grace-given contentment with whatever we have and a holy, wrought, grace-given discontentment for the mission God's called us to. Paul was not this laissez-faire, indifferent, content, hands-folded apostle. He was hair on fire. I want more. I want more. I want more. More lost people, more disciples, more church planners, more churches, more people saved, more souls, more ground for the kingdom. I'm going to push and press till they kill me. So don't confuse being content with being indifferent to the heart of God. God is saying, be content with what you have so you can have a holy ambition and be discontent with the things that beat on my heart. So don't hear me, church. Don't hear me saying you need to be content across the board. I'm saying you need to be content in the things God's given you in the standing of your current economic bracket. And you need to have a holy ambition for what God has yet to accomplish through your life, which maybe means you earn a ton more money. I don't know. You heard it in Dave and Wendy's story. They were here for a time, and they disciplined themselves to live below their means and give generously and sacrificially there, and it carried into a life that God then blessed with abundance. Faithful with little, faithful with much. How can we do this? Jonathan Edwards, when he was 18, wrote a sermon called Christian Happiness and Contentment. In it, he wrote these things. The 3 reasons a Christian can be content in any circumstances in life is because he knows or she knows that their bad things will turn to good, their good things will not be taken from them, and the best things are yet to come. Isn't that awesome? The Christian knows that the bad things in their life will only be used for good according to Romans 8. The good things in their life will never be taken from them, like the fact they're adopted by the Father, they're loved by the Son, they're accepted into the family of God, their salvation is secure, their home is secure, their adoption papers have gone through, it's final, they're on the plane, it's a short ride, and then they'll be home. That cannot be taken from them. And they know that the best things are yet to come. When you're adopted on the plane, going to your new home, your final destination, you know that it's only going to get better because this is as bad as it's ever going to be. This can't be taken from me. And man, look what I have to look forward to in the days to come. Every time you go into a store from this morning forward, I want you to think of whether or not you're investing your money in heavenly treasures or earthly treasures. Every time you go to Safeway, every time you go to Fred Meyer, every time you go to Costco, every time you go somewhere locally here, I want you to think, am I stewarding my treasures so that they're going into the heavenly treasury or the earthly treasury with this analogy? Imagine you went to the store today, Safeway, Fifth and Miller. You walk in, the store manager meets you at the front door and says, hey, glad to have you. Some new rules are being engaged at the store here. You will be allowed to shop for 3 hours with 2 carts. Cart A, whatever food and supplies you put in cart A, you will not be allowed to leave the store with. Everything you put in cart B, at the completion of your shopping tour, will be taken to the back, packaged up, wrapped, and sent to your home to be there when you arrive. You only have 3 hours to complete your shopping, and you'll never be allowed back in our store again. Are you clear? And you're like, okay, this is big time here. Run it by me again. Okay, cart A, what you put in, you will not be allowed to take out of the store. Cart B, everything you put in there will be shipped ahead to be waiting for you at your home when you get there. You have 3 hours. You will never be allowed in again. Go. How foolish would it be for you to run around the store, herking things off the shelf and sliding them into cart A? I got to hurry. I only got 3 hours. And the manager would watch you and go, I think, just review it. Hey, shut up. I only got 2 hours and 47 minutes. Oh my gosh, give me another cart A, another cart A. And he's like, wait, the rules here are whatever you put in that cart, you won't be able to take out of the store. I know, shut up. I need more. Where's the Oreo aisle? You know what I mean? Just, how foolish will it be for you to think, oh my gosh, in a few hours I'm not going to have this anymore. And so you run to the deli aisle and start chugging down the Jell-O, and you run to the bakery and start hammering down the donuts. It'd be maple nut donuts for me. And then cookie aisle and pop aisle and how ridiculously foolish would that be? And every 10 items, you throw over your shoulder into cart B, just in case you need it. Or for some, every 20th item, or for some, every hour on the hour, if you remember. Box of Cheetos, bag of pretzels into cart A. But the lion's share of your energy is spent loading up cart A, the cart in which you will not be able to leave the store with. Now, some are more sophisticated in the store. They're not running around, shoving things in their mouth. They're very sophisticated. They picked a few key items. They went back in the deli behind the grill there, and they're cooking one last fine meal. They're not like the slobbering idiots running around the store. They're going to cook a really nice meal. Guess what? It's still the last meal they're going to eat. Because you and I intuitively know that it's foolish to spend all of our energy accumulating things that we can't take with us. Wisdom would say, put it in the B cart so it'll get shipped to our final destination and be there when we get there, we can enjoy it. And yet, how many of us are running through the store of life, shoveling everything we can into cart A, taking sleeves of Oreos and shoving them down our neck because, man, when the store closes, I'm done. That's a very store-minded mentality, or a very earthly-minded mentality, as Jesus would say. He's saying, don't store up for yourselves treasures on heaven, or on earth, where moth and rust will destroy, thieves break in and steal, and you won't get access to it when you leave with nothing in your hand. Store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where moth will not destroy, where thieves will not steal. We see the foolishness of that analogy shrunk into 3 hours, and yet we walk that foolishness out over the course of our life. And Jesus' grace to us this morning is to wake up. When he says to Timothy, command them, he's like, hey, smelling salts, like, hey, wake him up, wake him up, wake him up. Snap him out, pow, 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 pow. Do not be rich towards yourself. Do not be prideful. Do not stuff cart A. It will go away and you'll be toast. Be rich towards God. Be rich in good deed. Be generous and ready to give. Fill up cart B. Now, here's where we're at as a church, and then I'll end with a story and we'll be done. As a church, we have been growing. We planted 5 years ago. We're 5 years in, and we have been growing by about 36% every year for 5 years. The last 12 months, we've grown by 47%. That's crazy, almost unhealthy, because you can grow big and not be healthy. So we're constantly fighting not to be wide, but to go deep. But by God's grace, we're growing. He's increasing our influence. He's increasing the opportunities. We are growing, which is wonderful and scary and exciting all at the same time. Currently, right now, we are 88%, I believe, the way through our budget year. We've only hit 79% of it. We got about $148,000 to go as a church in the next 6 weeks. Now, the cool thing is, we were $50,000 behind 6 weeks ago. We're only $14,000 behind today. Very, very exciting. So, as Dan Bass would say, there's Dan Bass here, I saw him get up to leave, go do jumping jacks. Just information for you. No strong-arming, no guilt-shaming. I'm just telling you, that's where we're at as a church. This church has an extraordinary history of being faithful and generous and giving. Now, what I'm telling you is $148,000 is nothing for 650 people to knock out, and there's a lot more to do above that. We are actively saying no to opportunities, actively saying no to ministries that we could engage in because of funds. We're going to enroll for you the next few weeks and months ahead all the opportunities God is giving us, and they're staggering. I'm just here to tell you there is an unusual move of grace upon our church family. We're weekly hearing of people getting saved. Not like third and fourth rededication, my rededication from junior high camp. Like cold turkey, in the dark, now I'm in the light. Was lost, now I'm found. We're hearing stories almost weekly of that kind of thing happening. We're going to baptize more people at the end of this year than we started with as a church plant 5 years ago. We have more gospel communities right now going than we had people when we planted our church. We have had record Sunday every Sunday in the Treasure Series. Every Sunday, we've had more people in the Treasure Series, than we had in any other Sunday previously. We are growing, and it's crazy. It's exciting. The wind's at our back, and there's bugs in our face, and it's great. But it also means that we're going to need more people on board serving, contributing, giving to the mission of the church. We've become now the Northwest Regional Hub for Acts 29 Northwest, meaning there are 32 church planters that look to us to set the bar, set the example. I've been on the phone with them this week. We're going to bring all of them here in January. We're going to serve them, love them, equip them. Many of them are tired. And how you love and serve and bless them will affect greatly how they serve the gospel and the people in the cities where they're at all across the Northwest. We're working right now on building a church planting strategy that we're going to roll out on the West Coast, that we are being told by the executive board of Acts 29 that if we can roll it out, beta test it, work out the kinks, serve as kind of the R&D department for Acts 29, in 2 years, when me and a few other guys write the final copy for it, it will get rolled out Acts 29 wide globally. Over 500 churches in the network, over 500 currently in the pipeline to come into plant. And what we do as a church here in little old no-name backwater Wenatchee will affect how every one of those church plants the gospel in their city. Can you dig that? Can you get down with that? Can you imagine what God could do? And here's the question the Lord's asking us. Will you be faithful with what you have? I've given you much. You didn't deserve any of it. Will you be faithful with what you have? God's saying, test me in this. God's saying, put me to the test. God's saying, see if I'm better than money. See if I'm more faithful than money. See if I'm a better Savior than money. I'll deliver. I'll provide. Obey my voice and not money's, and see what I could do. We're going to unpack in the days to come opportunities God's given us, and I'm just telling you, they're bigger than you can imagine right now. And there will be a need for every person in this room to be in the boat or in the water, paddling like your life depended on it. Jesus is saying, I'm giving you opportunity to be a part of something bigger than what you could do in your own strength, with your own resources, by being a part of the body of Christ, which means we'll need more parts of the body working and functioning, that we might be more effective. So I end with the question I asked, what's your legacy going to be? Your legacy will be tied very tightly to how you think, feel, spend your money. Where will you invest it? I want to put the capstone on Dave and Eva and Wendy's story by reading an email they sent me last night. I asked them, I say, your story is profound, your story is an example, and in the spirit of Hebrews 10:24, where the writer says, and let us consider how we can stir one another up towards love and good deeds. Remember that verse? We apply that everywhere except to finances, don't we? See how we can stir one another up towards love and good deeds over here, but we never do that in finances. I think we should do it in finances. How can we stir one another up towards love and good deeds? We tell stories of grace. Many of you heard their story and you were discouraged. I can never do that. Jesus loves you. He's with you where you're at. Exercise faith and see what he might do with your widow's mite given to him in faith. Some of you have a lot and go, oh, crap. Now I got to go home and change how I'm living. This is God's gift to you of grace. Don't reject it as poison. Receive it as solution to your cancer. And some of you, actually many of you, are faithfully giving, serving. I'm telling you, the ratios of our church don't work when you compare them to almost every other church in America. They don't work. because God's given an extraordinary amount of faithful, loving, generous, sacrificial people to give to the work of the ministry. And I do not think that is disconnected from the fruit we're seeing with the work of the gospel in our city. It's just not. Jesus says, if you love me with your money, if you serve me with your resources, I will pour a blessing out on you through the window of my grace that will blow your mind. I asked Dave Wendy, I said, could you articulate for us as a church how you spend the money God's given you? Because concrete examples would be helpful for me, as an example for me and my wife to attain to as we endeavor to grow in sacrificial, generous, eye-popping, radical giving. And they said, okay. I said, I'm going to read it for the church. Is that okay? And they said, that's fine as long as they understand. We've never told anyone this before in our life. I said, that's okay. That needs to end because we need to figure out how to stir one another up toward love and good deeds. And our church needs a vision for what they could do with what God's given them. Here's the email Wendy wrote me. Well, first of all, to answer your question, Pastor Josh, a lot of our giving is diversified. We give up to over 25 organizations per month, but the main portion of the money primarily to unreached people groups. We do this as a personal conviction because of the vast majority of money given by Americans goes to our already reached people groups. Only 1 penny out of every $100 goes to the unreached. Of our monthly giving, approximately 15% goes to GCC, 15% goes to local U.S.-based ministries, and 70% goes to foreign ministries. Do you hear the disciplined, rigorous, prayer-filled, systematic a plan for giving? Not, if I think of it while I'm stuffing cart A, thought through, discerning, prayed over, intentional giving. Some of the ministries we give to and support here in Wenatchee and around the world include Advancing Native Missionaries, Bibles Unbound, Crew, Eternal Perspective Ministries, Faith Comes by Hearing, Frontiers, GCC, Gospel of Asia, Grace Ministries International, Grace to You, Haven of Hope, Heart Cry, Hospitality House, La Mission, Life Choices, Life Impact, New Tribes, Orphans, I'm running out of fingers here, Orphans of Hope, Overseas Missionary Fellowship, Pioneers, Palencia School. You didn't even know half these ministries existed, did you? Seed Company, Serve Wenatchee Valley, Setting Captives Free, the Masters Academy International, the Masters College and Seminary, Voice of the Martyrs, Wycliffe, Young Life, Youth Dynamics. We put each of these on the calendar in our home so we can pray for a different one every day as a family. A couple other things we've been able to do include supporting 5 Native missionaries and 8 kids per month. We completed the translation of the New Testament for one unreached people group. There is a people group that has a translation of the New Testament Bible because God gave someone in Wenatchee a vision to live below their means and give radically and proportionally as He enabled them. I mean, is that giving anybody in the room a vision? There's an entire people group that has a Bible that they can read the words we just read for the first time in the history of their people because God gave someone in Wenatchee a vision for how to give radically and generously of the things God's given them. This next one's my favorite. We've sent Bibles to volatile regions in Asia. We rebuilt a home for persecuted believers in India. We support Jesus Well, which provides clean drinking water in a village. They physically build a well for all the people, not just the believers, to show the gospel brings good news for everyone. We do the Christmas catalog gift with our kids. Each Christmas, we gather a couple of the gifts catalogs from Wycliffe or another ministry organization. We assign some amount to give to each kid, and then everyone in our family participates in choosing what we give. Blankets, chickens, goats, bunnies, rickshaws, bikes, radios, sewing machines. I think even one year we gave a water buffalo. I love that, you know what I mean? There's a family somewhere on the other side of the planet that has a water buffalo because Dave and Wendy have a vision to be generous with what they've been given. This next one is pretty hilarious too. We have also funded social media and websites in Arab countries. It's funny because Dave Weber didn't own a cell phone until a year ago when I made him get one. He's got a cell phone. He's a gospel community leader now. I'm like, bro, I got to be able to call you, man. I got to be able to talk. This email stuff isn't working. Get a cell phone, bro. Yo, you can't be deacon. I mean, I'll be able to get a hold of you. He's like, okay. So he breaks down. He buys a cell phone. Little as I know, he's been funding media sites and websites in Arab countries for years. I just thought of that. That's hilarious. Maybe it's just me. I thought that was really funny. Child slave rescue trafficking. We were able to reestablish a school for outreach to poor families as well as support persecuted believers and their families in closed countries, as well as rescue girls from being traded for sex, slavery, work. So there are girls somewhere in the world that have a name, that have hopes, dreams, aspirations, who will not be climbed and crawled and clawed at by 10 men today, but will rather be loved, served, counseled, trained in a vocation, given hope for a future, because someone in Wenatchee got a vision to be discontent with the things that break God's heart and to be content with the number of shoes they got to put on that day. Are you feeling what God's calling us into? Not poverty, not, living under the bridge, but taking what he's given us and gratefully, graciously being content with where we're at and hiving off as much as possible for cart B. The wise person only puts enough in cart A as to sustain their rigorous shopping efforts to stuff cart B for the future. And so too, God is calling us as a church to pay ourselves a wage with the money he's given us that will allow us to stay fruitful, happy, content, and energized for the work he's calling us to. So my question is this thrilling anyone? This isn't a sermon to get you to feel guilty, to pinch a few more pennies, to help us make budget. It's just not. This is me as your brother. This is me as your friend. This is me as your pastor. This is me as your fellow sojourner, exhorting you, obeying Paul, who obeyed Jesus, to write down on paper, to tell me, to exhort you, not to be greedy, not to desire riches, but to give generously, to give lavishly, to give radically, and to be ready to give at a moment's notice, that you would live a life oriented to storing up treasures in heaven and showing the world, no matter what socioeconomic bracket you find yourself in, that bracket can't satisfy the longings of the human heart that are deep. There is happiness to be had in following Jesus that simply cannot be had turning your back on him and pursuing stuff. When Jesus says it is more blessed to give than receive, he's saying, test me in it to see if I mean what I say. You see, Jesus hung on a cross and was generous with his blood so that we could be freed from having to hang on to stuff and therefore be generous with our money. The gospel sets you free from clinging to stuff and running from Jesus, so you now can cling to Jesus, be satisfied in him, and give radically and wildly away what you have because your heart's full. Contentment is not the enemy of holy ambition. Contentment is the antidote to the cancer of covetousness that will free you from it to pursue radically a holy ambition. And I pray by God's grace, he would bring us there as a church.